Hello everybody and welcome to the second edition of GameDaySportsBlog.com's weekly tidbits. It's May 22nd. We have a few things to get to. We've updated the technology for the video, so hopefully you really like this one. The first thing we want to talk about is the fact that Billy Donovan has already done a better job with this Thunder team than Scott Brooks ever did with his. Now you might be thinking, but Alan, didn't Scott Brooks get them to the NBA Finals one year? Yes, he did in 2012, and they got swept when they got into the finals. Now, that was the year he had a prime Serge Ibaka, a prime Kendrick Perkins, defensive stud Thabo Sefolosha, Eric Maynor, Reggie Jackson, and Nick Collison coming off the bench to help out Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook. Oh yeah, and James Harden, arguably the best shooting guard in the game today. This year, Donovan has done a better job with less talent. This year, all Donovan has is Westbrook and Durant. After that, he has a supporting cast nowhere near as talented as the one Brooks had to work with. Still, Billy D has been able to compete against a much tougher Western Conference and arguably the greatest team of all time with this year's Golden State Warriors. But Donovan's real big one of his professional career might not even come this week. If the Thunder can't get past the Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference Finals, then Billy Donovan has a chance to win in the offseason. If he can convince Kevin Durant that his best chance at winning a championship is with re-signing with Oklahoma City and he keeps Durant in a Thunder uniform, then Billy D is already a winner in the NBA. He has won arguably the biggest free agent in the history of the sport. Now, as we move towards my second tidbit of the week, we talk about a sport that doesn't start for a few months. I'm talking about college football and more specifically the Georgia Bulldogs of the SEC. Now, according to ESPN writer Mark Schlabach, the Dogs are the 13th best team in the country. That is where he ranked them in last week's preseason poll. ESPN's FPI ranking has Georgia at number 9 overall. Now we all know how I feel about ESPN. They're basically garbage. My predictions absolutely destroyed them in every sport this year, and they are going to regret predicting Georgia as a top 15 team. The Bulldogs finished last season unranked, and this season had to deal with improved Tennessee and improved Florida teams in the East, a better Auburn squad and a tough Ole Miss in the West, and a solid North Carolina Tar Heel team out of conference. Even if the Bulldogs were a good team, they wouldn't be able to manage to look like it against playing that kind of competition. And that's the thing, they're not that good. If Nick Chubb comes back from a brutal knee injury completely fine, then the Bulldogs have that going for them. But they're depending on a true freshman quarterback. Yeah, he was a 5-star recruit, but so is every defensive player he is going against in the SEC. Jacob Eason is not ready for what the best defensive conference in the country is about to throw at the 18-year-old. And the other side of the ball doesn't look that good either. Georgia loses linebackers Jordan Jenkins, Jake Gaines, and Leonard Floyd, and they also lose starting defensive end Sterling Bailey. Add in a first-year head coach with no head coaching experience, and the Bulldogs are screwed. So please tell me again why they're a top 10 team, ESPN. Heck, tell me why they are even ranked going into the season. Now, going from one team with a new head coach to another, we believe that the Los Angeles Lakers are the real winners of the draft lottery. Sure, the 76ers won the top overall pick in the draft, but after terrible luck in recent years and only a few unproductive front court players to show for it, Philadelphia is probably looking at drafting a backcourt player at number 1. That means Duke's Brandon Ingram, a talented small forward, may be heading to Philly, or the 76ers try their luck again up front and draft LSU's Ben Simmons. Either way, the Lakers have a need at both the wing and down low, meaning whoever is left after the first pick by the 76ers would fit perfectly for Los Angeles. Now, the Lakers can either shore up their small forward position with Duke's Brandon Ingram, who you see here driving to the basket. He also has an impressive jump shot. Either way, he can create his own offense, which is big for the Lakers, who lose their only player who could, Kobe Bryant. Now, it's either they go with him or they go with Ben Simmons, LSU's front court player who's probably the best all-around player in college basketball. As you can see from the dunk here, he's an athletic big man, plays great defense also, and Simmons down low, along with D'Angelo Russell and Jordan Clarkson on the outside, spells trouble for other teams in the Western Conference. So no, the Lakers might not have gotten the top overall pick in the draft, but it doesn't really matter. with two players that are worthy of that top selection and the Lakers having pick number 2, whoever Philly drafts doesn't totally matter to the Lakers. They walk out with a great player and a brighter future either way. As for the fourth tidbit of the week, GameDaySportsBlog.com turns its attention to boxing. We look at our prediction that Triple G and Canelo Alvarez will not happen this year. There is little doubt that Saul Canelo Alvarez wants to fight Triple G. Canelo says he wants to fight the best, anytime, any place, and I'm sure he means that. Gennady Golovkin said the same thing. He wants unification of his middleweight belts. However, it's not up to him. The thing is, Canelo's management at Golden Boy, they have to have seen what we've seen lately. He is not ready to fight somebody as good as Gennady Golovkin. Sure, Canelo's biggest struggles have come against Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Erislandy Lara, two boxers who move really well and give punchers problems. That's something that Triple G isn't. He's a stand in front of you, toe-to-toe kind of fighter, the same way Canelo Alvarez is. The thing is, not only does Triple G have hands of stone and as much, if not more, punching power than Canelo Alvarez, he can move and box better too. Oscar De La Hoya and the rest of Canelo's management know this. That's why they advised the Mexican fighter to vacate his WBC middleweight belt the other day, something he did so that he would not have to be forced to defend his championship against Golovkin. Of course, he still insists that he wants to fight Triple G, and I truly believe that he does. But make no mistake about it, his team wants no part of Gennady Golovkin. And here's why. Golden Boy and Oscar De La Hoya don't think Canelo could beat Gennady Golovkin right now. Look at Canelo's last 3 fights. James Kirkland, that ended in what, the second round? A dominating knockout? And then his next fight, Miguel Cotto, somebody well over the hill. Although he did look good in his 2 previous fights, he was outclassed by Canelo because he was too old. The third fight, his last one, nobody gave Amir Khan even a chance against the Mexican superstar. And they shouldn't have. Amir Khan moved up in weight, showed that he had a glass chin, and was going against a power puncher. Of course Canelo is going to win that fight. Now, setting him up with Triple G, that would be a step above anywhere Canelo's ever been, except for Mayweather, who Canelo got dominated by. And what does all of that mean to us boxing fans? It means we are being robbed the biggest and best, most action-filled fight we would be able to see until God knows when Oscar De La Hoya thinks that Canelo is ready for the fight. Now that was it for the tidbits. As for what to watch next week in sports, well, we're talking about the playoffs.
What's that? Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs?
That's right, Jim Moore Sr. We're talking about the playoffs and the NBA Western Conference Finals. We're all tied up at 1 game apiece, but making no mistake about it. The Thunder were lucky to get out of Golden State with an even series. Expect OKC to win 1 game at home before finally succumbing to the Warriors in 6 games. Now in the NBA Eastern Conference playoffs, it's a little different. The reason this is even on the list of sporting events to watch next week isn't because it was a good series. We all know Cleveland is going to win. Toronto knows Cleveland is going to win. The reason we are watching is because if Cleveland can look like they did early in the series, instead of how they did last night, they might just be the favorites to win the NBA. As for the NHL playoffs, both series are tied at 2 games apiece, and this next week gets to decide who plays for Lord Stanley's Cup. Will it be the Penguins? Will it be the Lightning? Will it be the Sharks or the Blues? As for something to watch next week that isn't the postseason, take a look at the St. Louis Cardinals. Tonight, the Cards kick off a 3-game series with the rival Cubs at Busch Stadium in hopes of closing the gap in the division. After that, St. Louis travels to Washington to take on Bryce Harper and the best rotation in baseball. If the Cardinals can come out of this week better in the standings than how they entered, it will go a long way in the early season battle for the Central Division. Now, instead of ending this video on what to drink for next week, we give you a funny video from sports. Consider this our goodbye, and we'll see you next week with our weekly tidbits from GameDaySportsBlog.com.
It's huge. You want to start playing your best baseball towards the end of May, when everything starts to pick up. You get the AC tournament, and then you get the NCAA tournament coming up. So, I think quick get on a good foot here, start playing some good baseball, we'll be all right.
See, I've heard of the total bomb or the selfie bomb, but what do you call when all your teammates just bombing on you behind you?